Today's episode is going to be about brand merch. People love it. People are excited to buy it. People want it, but people don't always know what is necessary in pulling off not only compelling brand merch, but stuff that's going to be worth your time, effort, energy, and investment. So in this episode, I really want to break down the difference between print on demand versus custom product versus client gifting, what you should host those on, whether it's Squarespace or Shopify, what's necessary, and also the time, effort, energy, and spend that you can expect when it comes to having merch for your brand. Because I think it's kind of become this like shiny object idea for a lot of people. And I hear it from a lot of our clients. And I just want to lay the record straight of what you can expect, what's going to be right for you, what it's going to take to pull off good brand merch. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the episode. Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. First and foremost, what are we even talking about? We have lots of different ways that you can pull off merch. And what I mean by merch is like merchandise, right? So these would be goodies with your branding on them. And the way I want to talk about this is a lot of clients come to us and say, well, we want brand merch. We want merch. We want to sell merch. We want to have a merch company. And my first question back is, do you want merch or do you just want people to wear things with your logo on them? Because those are kind of two different things. The first is merch from a perspective of I want to sell product and I want to have a product-based business because I want to make money selling products. The second is I just want people to have my brand and wear my brand and be excited about my brand because I want to show social proof of people being excited about what it is that I have to offer. The two things could be the same, but more often than not, I think people believe that selling items with their branding on it is a lucrative business. I'm here to tell you it can be, it most often is not. So the issue becomes is that a lot of people get really, really excited about their brand and really, really excited to have their branding on things. However, if you've just launched a rebrand, you have not built enough equity in that brand, enough social proof in that brand for people to go out and buy your logo on stuff. Which then begs the question of, okay, if we're not going to put our logo on stuff, what are we putting on stuff that we want to sell? And how are you then offering something different from an Amazon, an Etsy, a Target, a Walmart, etc.? So some of these qualifying questions might lead you down the path of, okay, no, I don't want to have a merch shop. I just want to create items with my branding on it to gift to people, to include in giveaways, to enhance the client experience, to get my brand name out there, in which case that's just an expense. That's a marketing expense for your business. So getting the baseball cap, the t-shirt, the pouch, the bag, the canvas tote, the notebooks, those are all things that people may not be coming to your website to purchase from you, in which case the approach is somewhat different. So we also have a few different ways that we can procure merchandise. There's print on demand model, and then there's a custom product model. So the print on demand is something that is hosted through a third-party provider. So something like Printful, Redbubble, Society6, even Amazon or Etsy, maybe you can do this from. So basically what these platforms would allow you to do is upload your artwork, specify the products that you want it printed on, specify your margin. And print on demand is a truly hands-off type business, meaning that you don't have to touch the product. So my site, for example, if you click on the merch, mkwcreative.co/merch, I sell this hat, the Kiss My Aesthetic hat. Who's the only person that's bought this hat? Me. But we also have other things on there. When I was doing all of the protest posters and people were asking me to put them on t-shirts, I didn't want to order 45 t-shirts at different sizes, procure them, have people order them, and then ship them out. I wanted to be as hands-off as possible. So instead, I upload my designs into Printful, the platform. Printful puts it on the items, t-shirts, bags, hats, duffels, socks, sweatshirts, anything you can think of pretty much exists in Printful. And then when someone orders that thing, I don't touch that product. That order goes directly to Printful. They print the order, they fulfill the order, they ship the order, and then I basically am making a commission off of that sale. The way that it works is actually that the Printful account syncs into my Squarespace website. So I have a Squarespace page called Shop, and I add the integration for Printful. So the Printful feed goes right into my site. And that checkout experience for the customer is really smooth because it looks like they're all contained within MKW Creative Codes, kind of like a white label service or like a shell around that service offering. The limitations of that are the margins are going to be very, very thin. So your upcharge on margins for something like this, like let's say a t-shirt, when I'm in Printful, it'll tell me the cost of that t-shirt. So the cost of the t-shirt plus the printing of the t-shirt, let's say it comes out to $15. Realistically, where is my margin? Because if it's just a cotton t-shirt with a design on it, you have to decide how worth it is it, right? So a lot of influencer brands or artists, musicians, things like this, they will have these types of setup, but they're charging more because of the design or because of whatever reason, right? So that margin, let's say between $15 and $20 is only $5 per t-shirt. So I'm selling a $20 t-shirt, I'm only seeing $5 of that $20 because by the time it gets deducted out, the production, the blank, the printing, the shipping, the only money that's left is that $5. So print on demand is great because it's low risk, but it's also very low lift. So you can add a lot of products to your shop that you, again, don't have to touch, don't have to manage, don't have to do any of that for, but you don't really have control over the experience. So if you're wanting to do custom boxing, custom unwrapping experiences, branding on your invoices or on the packaging, that's not so much of an option. There are some brands that will allow you to do this, but the products can feel somewhat generic. And they can also start to feel like you could get them from anywhere. So like a cotton Gildan t-shirt is a cotton Gildan t-shirt. If that's fine for you, then great. If you're someone that has a luxury brand where you're like, I really want the t-shirt to be this very specific boxy fit with this length of sleeve and da 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 da, you're not going to be able to get that through a print on demand service. So again, you have to decide how important it is to you, whether or not you have control over those products or not. The other bit of it is the kind of like, again, the stuff can start to feel a little generic, like a water bottle is a water bottle is a water bottle, a canvas tote's a canvas tote. If you're wanting more custom product and you're wanting a more custom experience, that's where we would source from somewhere like Alibaba. However, now you're moving away from Printful integrated into your Squarespace or integrated into your website to something else. So that process requires like a work back schedule, research, dealing with manufacturers, ordering custom product, ordering the right quantity of product, da 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 da. This whole experience we go into detail with Dental Hygiene Nation, for example. So when I interviewed Caitlin about that a few episodes back, you can find that episode where she really explains that. But in that instance, we are kind of like, sky's the limit. We want a custom zipper pouch that's this texture with this type of embroidery. We want to order a sweatsuit. We want to order notebooks that have custom da 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 da. You can get very custom through those different manufacturers and vendors, but all that product has to ship somewhere. And if you're a small business owner, that's probably getting shipped to your house. So you're going to buy all this product. You're going to have to really take a guess on quantity. Then it gets shipped to your house. Then when someone purchases it from, you have two options, Squarespace e-commerce site or Shopify. You get that order to come in. You are packing that order. You are packaging that order. You're shipping that order yourself. That takes a lot of time, as you can imagine. And it also is a factor of scale. So how much product are you willing to sell? How much product are you shipping out regularly? At the point where you're big enough, you're going to then use a 3PL or a co-packer. So that person, all of your product gets shipped to that person. All of your orders get sent to that person. That person handles all of the distribution. So again, for someone who's like a solo entrepreneur or your solo business or your small sized business where you're like, I want brand merch and I want it super, super, super custom with super, super custom packaging, that is expensive. It is time intensive and it is probably overkill for what the actual impact of that merch, what you want it to be. So think about that. Take that all into consideration. I want to circle back on the website thing for a second. A lot of people get confused about what you need from a website standpoint to sell product. Shopify is kind of the industry giant that is the go-to, that is the default for selling products on your website because they have the most advanced reporting and the most advanced PO system and da 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 da. That's probably, if you're working with us, that's going to be out of our team's realm. I'm going to be so honest because we're not Shopify experts. We are branding and merch design experts. I wouldn't say that we are Shopify design experts. Doesn't mean we can't do it. Doesn't mean we haven't done it. But you're really going to want to work with somebody who really knows the ins and outs of Shopify to make sure that that's set up correctly. So you're charging the right sales tax, you're collecting the right information, da, 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 da. That's only going to be necessary if you have that custom product coming to you or you're selling product that's not on a print on demand model. So for example, with Studio Tigre, she was already used to using this type of system because she was selling coffee through her Square account. So she's selling coffee alongside t-shirts, alongside bags, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that needed to be in kind of one shopping experience. So what we did is created on her Squarespace site, the shop button links to another website, which is her Shopify website. And that Shopify website is like studiotigre.shop, for example, or studiotigrela.shop. So that she has studiotigrela.com, studiotigrela.shop. And those two sites kind of like run parallel to each other, which was like our solution. That being said, you can have your Squarespace website sell product. So Squarespace has a lot of similar functionality to Shopify, but not to the same extent, where you can load in your product, people can purchase your product, you get the orders come in, and then you fulfill those orders just like you would with Shopify, but on Squarespace. That's going to be a better option if you have a limited number of merch pieces that you're trying to sell. So let's say you drop a summer collection and you're selling a bucket hat and a hand fan and a beach tote and a towel. And those 4 products with your branding are for sale on your website. The other benefit of doing that is your costs are way down. So you have bigger margin, you have more income potential by ordering custom product instead of going for the print on demand model. So let's say you've got 25 of each product. What did I say? A bucket hat, a towel, a hand fan, and a beach tote. So you would add all of those things into your website. You would add all the photography into the website. You would add all of the shipping requirements into the website, the product description, that when someone buys those things, you then are responsible for getting that shipped to them. Again, if you're not using a 3PL, you're not using a co-packer, any of that. So having that option, again, if you're anticipating a lot of sales, I would recommend, and I recommend this with a lot of our clients actually, less product, more quality, less quantity. So how do we sell things that people want, that they're willing to buy, that are limited edition, one time only, never to be restocked again? When they're gone, they're gone. Because that's what makes this business model, in my opinion, more sustainable. Because otherwise you're just making more junk and you're having to hold on to a lot of stuff. And most creative entrepreneurs that I know like to switch up their vibe a lot. So they like to have things that are fresh and new and exciting. So having things on limited release, on limited edition that are get it now and then never again is to your benefit because you're creating a lot of hype for that moment. You're creating hype for that drop. You're creating hype for that launch. You're doing a big intensive work effort around that. And then when it's sold, it's sold. So that is kind of your option with doing kind of like not running a full scale merch business, but having more of a merch effort, a design effort, and then building it on there. To scale back even smaller, which is actually where I think most people lie, that's not as, again, intensive, is just get really good at client gifting. Like just find the places where you can order on Alibaba, you can order on Etsy, you can order, let's say you're a travel agent and you want to send people on a really great trip with an extra zipper pouch bag and 2 baseball caps and 2 water bottles, for example. Those are great things to source from, again, like Alibaba, Etsy, etc. Get them branded, pull them together, and then put them together in a kit to then send to your potential client. Because that communicates the brand. It's not an expense on their part. What you can do is factor that into the cost of the service of them working with you, for example. So maybe you charge a little bit more, you charge an onboarding fee, or you just eat it as a marketing cost. But that's a great way to kind of solve the problem that I think a lot of clients, when they come to me and say, oh, I want to have merch, I want to have brand merch. It's not so much that they want to sell merch or they think that selling merch is going to make them a ton of money. It won't, but they want to have brand presence. And I think a great way to get going with that is to have brand presence by creating items that people will actually use. Luggage tag, baseball caps, notebooks, water bottles, tote bags, because those are actual practical items that give you a lot of visibility. A lot of times when we talk to clients about merch, I'm also recommending like, where's the maximum real estate in a lifestyle product that people will actually use? And there's this great example of like, you never want to brand like a chapstick. because the chapstick, even if it's the best chapstick ever, you're using the chapstick and then the chapstick goes away. It goes in a drawer, it goes in a bag, it goes in your center console of your car, and it's not really to be interacted with again. Versus something like a canvas tote, a beach towel, a silk scarf, a baseball cap. That's a constant exposure to your brand that's going to be visible. That's going to be that conversation starter or the recognition. Like when you see somebody wearing a baseball cap with a sports team logo, you'll be like, oh, I love that team, blah, blah, blah. I grew up in that place, etc. So you're creating that moment of connection, which is, I think, ultimately what people really want to do with merch. So again, to kind of like recap what I ran through. The problem that I'm seeing happen, not problem, but kind of the conundrum, the situation that we're in is a lot of clients come to us for branding. Lovely. Then they say, I want to do merch. Great. Let's think about, do you really want merch or do you want good client gifting? That's question number one. If you really want merch, do you want print on demand or do you want custom product? If you want print on demand, our team can absolutely help set that up. We can help set up your Printful account. We can help spec the items. We can load in the artwork. We can sync it into your website so it's a seamless experience. And then you, the client, can set your profit margin on each of those items. I would not recommend launching a zillion items. I think somewhere between 8 to 12 products is a good range to show variety, but also to not overwhelm your customer because we have to think of who's coming to the site to buy the things in the first place. Is it your customer? Is it your affiliate partners? Are you getting a bunch of merch for events or giveaways, things like that? And you could kind of do a hybrid approach of the client gifting plus the print on demand. That's kind of a nice combo, 1-2 punch. The best thing about the print on demand as well is it'll sync right into your Squarespace site. So you do not need Shopify. You do not need another e-commerce platform tool. You can just have it link right in because all of that commerce is happening within Printful. And the best thing about print on demand is you don't touch the product. When someone buys it, they make it, they order it, they ship it. So you're really kind of hands off. The downside of print on demand, not super high profit margin. You don't have a ton of control over the branding experience, for example. If that's not what you want, you say, that's great, Michelle. I don't really want to sell cotton t-shirts and tote bags. Like I want to kind of go to the next level. I have like a very specific vision of the type of product that I want. Or you want to order a ton of quantity. You're saying I'm, part of a conference and I need to contribute something to a goodie bag and I need 2,000 of something. That's when we're going to want to go custom product order through Alibaba. So we can help to source, coordinate, and get the artwork over to the vendors on Alibaba. That is part of the service that we provide. We can also give kind of like counsel on what items you should spec, what's realistic. Those items you'll have much higher profit on because those items are created very, very, very cheap because they're not doing the shipping and the distribution. So that is also something that takes more time. So think about giving yourself a healthy window of 40 to 60 days for shipping alone on something that you're ordering from Alibaba. Means that we need to finish the design probably 2 months before you want to have product in hand, which means we need to engage in the whole merch thing probably at least a month before that. So you're looking for a 3 to 4 month lead time on product that you're trying to have in hand. So if you've got a launch party on September 1st, all that stuff needs to be ordered by June, ideally, July, ideally, to get all that stuff in hand by September 1st. So that's where it takes a little bit more time, planning, effort, and energy. The other option is if you're really in a pinch, and we've done this with a few clients, you can order smaller quantities of things through Etsy. So the difference is you'll pay a lot more because it's less quantity. It's also you're paying them to basically do what we would have been doing, which is sourcing from a distributor, customizing it, and then sending it to you. So push comes to shove, like you can get items from Etsy for sure. But I would really recommend if you're going to go for high quantity, so anything over, I'd say even like 50 pieces, 100 pieces, that's where you're going to want to go to like a larger manufacturer. So things like koozies or coasters or tote bags or whatever, you're going to get a better price point and you're going to get a better product out of going direct than you are to go through an Etsy seller, which is going to basically is just doing that service, but doing it usually domestically and usually at a higher price point. So those are your options. Now, when you order all that product, getting that onto some kind of platform where people can purchase it is that next situation, is that next conundrum. So you can do it with Squarespace. By the time that you're ordering a ton of quantity or a ton of different sizes or a lot of apparel, which is really difficult because it's hard to anticipate how many extra small, medium, large XLs do I need? And what do I do if I have a ton of extra larges left over that I can't sell or a ton of extra smalls that I can't sell? What does that look like? So that's something to be aware of. But getting all of that into your website, loading that into your Shopify, managing your Shopify, doing order fulfillment is an entirely additional business to the service or products that you already offer. So you have to think about that. You have to think about, am I willing to take on the cost? If this blows up, do I have the bandwidth to be able to make sure that that runs effectively? Also, it's difficult to run a merch business. And I think I've seen this with some of our clients because the consumer is trained to think that they should get refunds no matter what. And that they should have like the Amazon or the Nordstrom of experiences where even if they use the product, they should be able to return it. So you have to be aware of that as well and factor into your cost and into your pricing what that inventory management is going to look like, which again, starts to get definitely out of the realm of what my team and I offer. We are definitely better on the sourcing, design, research, ideation phase, but all of the logistics, back-end inventory management is an entirely separate business, entirely different team than what our team can do. That said, I think there's a lot of different tactics and marketing strategies we can use there, especially when it comes to the quantity that you have, when it comes to the design of what you're doing, when it comes to any of the like sales, promotions, or things to move stale inventory. Our team is really good at doing that. But that whole business would be something additional outside of what you'd work on with us. Again, to recap, figure out what the heck you want merch for. Do you actually want to sell merch because you want to make money, or do you want people to just have an extension of your brand in a physical format? If just physical format extension of the brand, consider client gifting, limited edition drops, maybe with a print on demand service, or maybe around some type of effort, an anniversary party, a launch party, whatever, where you're like selling those things. I'll also just asterisk in here. One of the things that we thought about with Gallivant Society was, for example, like selling the silk scarves that we created. And I think I really convinced Allie of the opposite of let this be a thing that you only get when you go on a trip. Let this be a thing that you have to have participated in the brand to be able to earn. And then you're increasing the value of that item because not everyone can have it. Because you have to go through the mastermind or you have to join the group or you have to do, there's some like access point that's making this thing desirable and how that can be positioned in your brand as a benefit and not a detriment. So that's another thing to think about when it comes to merch is like, is this something that everyone is going to access whenever they want? Or is this a limited edition, have to meet these criteria type item? So client gifting and limited edition release. Then you have your print on demand, always available, low margin, low lift, but available to people all the time. And it's also something that can run in the background that you don't really have to do anything for once you've got the designs loaded in. Then to the highest involvement side would be your custom product, custom design, quantity issue, co-packing issue, shipping issue. So a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of opportunity to make money, but a lot of time and effort. So pick your poison. I hope this was helpful to you. Again, I'm going to use this episode as a resource for our future clients to kind of lay out the landscape again of like your client gifting, print on demand, custom product, Squarespace versus Shopify, and how all of that comes together. Again, this is my very like 101 level knowledge of these things. But if you have questions or if you'd like to work with us, we are open for business. And we actually do love designing merch. Go back and listen to the episode with Dental Hygiene Nation, with Studio Tigre, with Gallivant Society. We have a lot of clients where we've been able to create really incredible product and really incredible brand touch points based on different merch efforts. Even Luxury Fire Island Homes, we just did a huge order for their summer season and finding ways to create that brand engagement, brand touch point that is that if you know, like a sports team or a social club has that level of audience intrigue. So all this to say, hope this was helpful to you. I know that was a lot of information. Please, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to address. If you love this episode, send it, save it, share it, give it to a friend. and we will catch you on the next one. Bye.